Russians, like anyone else, dream of exploring the world, but in recent years, geopolitics and conflicts have cast a shadow on how Russian travelers are perceived globally. Imagine packing your bags, booking a flight, and landing in a country where you're greeted not with open arms but suspicion or outright hostility. In this video, we're diving into 7 countries where Russians are facing growing challenges in 2025, whether it's due to politics, sanctions, or societal tensions. Stick around as we uncover the surprising reasons why these destinations might not roll out the red carpet for Russian visitors. To understand why Russians are unwelcome in certain countries, we first need to grasp the global backdrop. Since 2022, the geopolitical landscape has been dominated by events like the war in Ukraine, sanctions, and deteriorating diplomatic relations. These developments have had ripple effects, influencing public perception, visa policies, and even local attitudes toward Russian travelers. Our list begins with an obvious one: Ukraine. The ongoing conflict has made Ukraine the most hostile destination for Russians. Entry bans for Russian citizens have been in place since the invasion in 2022, with strict border controls ensuring no exceptions. Public sentiment toward Russians in Ukraine remains understandably tense, given the backdrop of war, occupation, and displacement. Simply put, for Russians, Ukraine is not just unfriendly, it's completely off-limits. Next we move to Poland, a country that has taken a firm stance against Russia's actions in Ukraine. Poland has tightened visa restrictions, making it increasingly difficult for Russians to enter. Moreover, public sentiment has grown hostile, with protests and campaigns calling for a complete ban on Russian travelers. For many Russians, Poland no longer feels like a safe or welcoming destination. We're grouping these 3 countries together because the situation is quite similar across the Baltic states. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia have been vocal critics of Russian policies, implementing strict visa restrictions and even banning Russian cultural symbols in public spaces. These nations share a history of Soviet occupation, and recent events have reignited historical grievances. Russian visitors report feeling unwelcome and in some cases, even unsafe. Finland, a country once considered a neutral ground for Russian travelers, has shifted its stance dramatically. Border crossings that once thrived on Russian tourism have slowed to a trickle, and public opinion has turned frosty. While Finland hasn't completely banned Russian travelers, the atmosphere is far from warm. Russians who previously enjoyed weekend trips to Helsinki now find themselves navigating a maze of restrictions and wary locals. Japan might come as a surprise on this list, but hear us out. The dispute over the Kuril Islands and Japan's alignment with Western sanctions have strained relations between the 2 countries. In 2025, many Russians are finding it harder to obtain visas for Japan, and some report a less than welcoming attitude in tourist hotspots. While not openly hostile, the chill in Japan-Russia relations has certainly trickled down to travelers. Georgia is an interesting addition. Historically, relations between Georgia and Russia have been complex, marked by war in 2008, and ongoing territorial disputes. While some Russians have flocked to Georgia as expats, especially during political unrest back home, not everyone is thrilled with this influx. In certain parts of Georgia, Russians are viewed with suspicion, and anti-Russian sentiment has been growing among locals who associate Russian policies with aggression. Rounding out our list is the Czech Republic. Known for its stunning architecture and rich history, this Central European nation has become less inviting for Russians. The Czech government has aligned itself with the EU's sanctions, and public opinion reflects growing skepticism toward Russian visitors. Stories of Russian tourists facing discrimination in Prague's famous squares are becoming more common, making it clear that not all are welcome here. These 7 countries are just the tip of the iceberg. Across Europe, Asia, and even parts of the Americas, Russian travelers are facing tighter restrictions and cooler receptions. For many, it's a reminder of how interconnected politics and tourism really are. But what does this mean for the future? Will these restrictions ease, or will Russian passports remain stigmatized? Travel has always been a bridge between cultures, a way to foster understanding and connection. But as we've seen, politics can burn those bridges just as easily. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into how global events shape the way we travel. What do you think? Should travel and politics be kept separate, or is this the new reality of our interconnected world? Let us know in the comments below.